Anybody out here ever had a bad week before? I know just about everybody I know has had at least one bad week in their life. Right? This song's about the end of that bad week. We're gonna go play it now.
Nice lid.
Yeah. It's the same hat I wore on Saturday with Derek Procell. So I
that's right.
Since I had Mitch the Lip on, I wear this one.
Sweet lid.
Sweet lid.
Update me, man. You've had a busy couple weeks.
Oh man, I'll tell you what, Pete, it's this 5-week stretch, 8 days. Right? So you got whatever, three with Black Diamond sessions, 1 with Derek Procell and the All-Star Mojo Band, and then the rest with the Mosquitoes. So it's been a stretch. Matter of fact, I think the reason why we moved it up here tonight is both Mitch and I have to go to Todd's house for rehearsal.
Yeah.
For Black Diamond. So, but it's all good. I mean, it doesn't happen like that very often where everything is just kind of jammed in a short period of time, but it happens. What did Todd? Todd had like 12 this month, didn't he?
I can't keep up. I can't. How do you keep up with everybody's Facebook, Instagram, X? I mean,
a lot of it's
so much.
Yeah, but a lot of it's through text, like for us, for rehearsals. Like tonight, we knew we had rehearsal. And, I mean, I'm just following the text. In terms of like the Facebook stuff, man, I'll tell you, it's hard to keep all that stuff straight.
I mean, because this music group's a tight little group. I mean, if one person likes something and then it
explodes.
And if you miss that, whatever stream that it hits, I'm like, hey, wait, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
The Lip.
Mitch the Lip.
Gentlemen.
Where?
How's it going?
Great. How are you?
Good. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
First of all, he is an unbelievable musician, a great trumpet player, not just a trumpet player. We'll get into it a little bit more, but also plays drums and also plays guitar. So not only is he this super talented musician, but also one hell of a super nice guy and a great human being. And ever since I met him, and I believe it was through the Black Diamond sessions, him and I have had a chance to share the stage multiple times with multiple bands, whether it was sharing the stage in a dual gig with the Mosquitoes and Mitch the Lip and the Side Hustle, whether it was sitting in with Mitch the Lip and the Side Hustle, Soundtracks of a Generation, Derek Procell and the All-Star Mojo Band, Black Diamond sessions. I mean, it's in, and the Coterie too, right? We're talking about the Coterie. So, I can only say great things about him because it's all true, and I mean all of it sincerely. Great guy, Mitch the Lip. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bongo Mike. I greatly appreciate it. Thanks, Pete, as well. I've met you too, and we haven't shared the stage, but we've talked for sure a few times.
Mitch the Lip. How you doing, man? You need a little chapstick? You okay? Or
I'm doing great, man. I'm all good. I got all chapsticked up before I got on this call.
So you got some shows coming up. Bongo Mike was filling us in. You want to give us a clue in on the calendar so we can
I think for Mitch the Lip, before Mitch hopped on, we were talking about the show on Saturday, and the show at the Rouse Center with Derek Procell was just unbelievable.
What happened at the Rouse Center this
I'm going to let Mitch talk about it.
Go ahead, Mitch.
Oh, sure. Well, I know Friday night was a bunch of people from Soundtracks of a Generation. A bunch of our friends were on the stage doing the tribute to why am I drawing a blank on
Bob
his name?
Seger.
Bob Seger. Thank you. Yeah, to Bob Seger. And Mike Whalen is Bob Seger and does a phenomenal job dancing around and singing. And a bunch of the bandmates in that group are all friends of Bongo Mike and I. Saturday night, we played with the Derek Procell and the All-Star Mojo Band, and we played together on that stage. We actually were standing right next to each other. I could have I could have gotten spit valves on him pretty much. He was that close. But the show went great. It was one of our better shows, and everybody was on fire. Audience was, the energy in the building was just phenomenal. Not just from the band perspective, but from the audience. And of course, they feed off of us, we feed off of them, and it turns into a giant energy frenzy. And it was quite the energy frenzy and a lot of fun.
Yeah, that it was a really great show. And we did have brother John Kotke sitting in on keys with us, and that he played great. He was filling in for RJ, and it was excellent. I agree with everything that Mitch says. Interesting thing about that theater, I want to say it was originally a vaudeville theater before they made it into a movie theater, and they had like removed the pipe organ. They had a huge pipe organ in that one corner. Mitch, it would have been opposite us to the left, and
Yes.
the guy was pointing it out. But I'll tell you what a just a tremendous venue. I mean, the sound is great. I mean, view in any one of those seats is good, and it's a really neat place to go see a show. If you ever get a chance to go check anything out there, I think you'll be impressed.
So Mitch, you do horn, trumpet. Go down the laundry list of all the stuff that you do.
I'm mainly a trumpet player. I started on trumpet when I was 10 years old. I started playing drums when I was 11. As a matter of fact, my first gigs in the Chicago music scene when I was in my upper teens were on drums in a ska band, believe it or not. So I was playing reggae and ska music when I was 19 years old. And I had gigs before that, but they weren't really like what I'll call in the Chicago bar gig scene and playing around town. And then somebody found out that I played trumpet and said, "Hey, we're forming a band. You want to play trumpet with us?" And I was like, "Sure." And so I started, actually the drummer and I were talking because we both played drums. She was also a trumpet player. She got braces and went to drums and never looked back. I actually played trumpet all the way up until, I finished high school. I took a year off from music in general. And a buddy of mine that I grew up with showed up at my door and said, "Hey, I'm starting a band. I hear you play drums. You want to play with us? My girlfriend's sister suggested you." And I started playing drums in a ska band, and that was pretty much it. And by the time I was 20, I was playing trumpet again. And I never stopped. I kind of put drums aside. I probably played 2-3 gigs a year on drums and probably 95 to 100 on trumpet.
You brought up ska. For the old timers,
Yeah,
or medium timers. I mean, before reggae, you had ska, right? And
that is correct.
Before you had Wild Hare, you had ska, or ska was going into Wild Hare, then reggae. I don't know.
Yeah,
Do you remember the Skanking Lizards at all?
of course.
Are you serious?
Yeah, of course.
Mitch,
Yeah.
please talk to us about the early days of ska, because people don't get the reggae, the punk involved in it, and the Chicago scene.
Oh, well, let's go back then to the 60s. Back in the 1960s is really when ska came about, and it came about from the calypso movement in Jamaica. So calypso was really the earliest electronic music in Jamaica, and from there it spawned ska. And ska was really a combination, believe it or not, of like New Orleans funk from the 60s and calypso music. And that's where ska came from. And what they really got the name from was the offbeat guitar. So you'd hear that ska, 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 and then the horns would comp that and the guitar would play that. And so that's where ska came from. And reggae really was an offshoot of that after Rocksteady and Blue Beat and a few other things that kind of came about in between those two. And then because Bob Marley originally was a ska musician, most people don't know that, even though reggae is what made him famous. He played ska before he played reggae. Yep. And reggae comes from the sound of the guitar again, which is reggae, 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 reggae. And that's why you have ska and reggae. So,
and would you say like one of the first, well, I always consider it, and maybe I'm wrong, but one of the first bands that really broke out with ska music, the Skatalites, right?
Skatalites and Toots and the Maytals were the two.
Yeah.
the two early bands that if you know anything about ska, those are the bands started kind of the whole thing.
Yep.
And then in Chicago, like how did it evolve in the Wild Hare? Do you remember? I don't know is an acceptable answer. You brought up ska. I'm like, holy crap. Because we're talking like early 80s, late 70s.
Yeah. I mean, I started in the mid 80s, basically. So there was bands that were doing it before us. There was oh man, I'm trying to think of all the bands that were playing around town back then. Do you guys know Frankie Hill?
Yeah.
His band was one of the original ska bands in Chicago. And we actually opened up for them. We've opened up for a bunch of different ska bands, including the Skatalites. And it's been a crazy trip. I've been playing ska music since the 80s and still play some ska gigs here and there. It's a lot of fun.
Were Mighty Boss Tones, would you consider them ska?
Yes. That's kind of what I would call the third wave.
Yeah.
First wave would be like,
yeah.
First wave's like Skatalites and Toots. Second wave would be all the stuff that happened in England. Basically the riots that were happening in Brighton post-punk, like at the end of the punk era, like 82, 83, they basically started having ska bands get together and start playing music. And it was black kids and white kids that were into the mod movement or the punk movement. And together they kind of came together and started playing ska music.
Even the Clash kind of toiled in there a little bit.
Absolutely. Yeah. So bands like Madness, the Specials, the Selector. I mean, there's a bunch.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of bands that spawned off of ska bands like Tears for Fears. Many people don't know this. Their original band name was the Acrylics, and they were a ska band before they started Tears for Fears.
Pete, you're getting an education.
Yeah.
You're learning today,
Pete. We lived it.
Yeah.
I definitely lived it.
I mean, I remember.
I didn't know that Tears for Fears started as ska, man. I had no idea.
Yeah. I mean, who was it? Well, there was a couple guys from English Beat that, the English Beat split into a couple different bands. Style Council basically came out of that. The Jam wasn't really a ska band, but there's just a bunch of really cool bands that came out of England back then that were that was the stuff of my youth.
So
youth.
Yeah, exactly.
So Wild Hare was known for reggae. What else? Where else could you play ska back in the day? Mid 80s was almost over.
Our first gigs were at the West End and the Cubby Bear.
West End.
And, Cubby Bear, on Clark and Addison.
Yeah.
Of course, we did play. We played the Wild Hare. Dude, we played a gig, Thirsty Whale. I'll never forget it. We played a couple gigs at the Thirsty Whale.
Was it like
they looked
Blues
at us
Brothers?
like we had three heads, but that's okay. I didn't care. It was fun. And of course, we went to Gene and Jude, so that was all part of the experience.
You brought up West End. Does Susie Miller ring a bell?
Of course, I've known Susie Miller since 1984.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Did she book you a cubby?
She booked us at the West End and at Lounge Acts.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
Lounge Acts.
Yeah.
What a great place.
She wound up marrying Jeff Tweedy. He used to come in all the time. So he was coming around. So you did West End. You did that whole line. Holy crap.
Yeah.
And then what was the third wave then? Is that I just threw out Boss Tones because that was mid 90s?
Yeah, Mighty Boss Tones is probably the biggest band that came out of that. But there was a bunch of other bands that were coming out of the East Coast. There was some New York bands that came out, like the Toasters. I'd put them in there. There was other bands coming out of the West Coast, like the Untouchables. Even Fishbone, man, their first album was almost all ska.
Ska, yeah.
Yeah.
You seem pretty passionate about ska. If the regular audience out there was more accepting, I don't know if it is or it isn't, but would you do more of it?
I still love it. We still play it. I mean, we do We do a couple of songs that are in the ska and reggae vein with Mitch The Lip and Side Hustle. We even play some of the originals that I wrote back in the day, which were written and recorded and played with Scapone. And Scapone was probably the biggest band out of Chicago that I played with, along with a band called Rude Guest, which was pretty big in the late 80s and early 90s. I was playing and touring with those guys when I was in college, and it was a lot of fun, man. So yeah, I learned a lot about it.
All right, so you got going with that, and then the trumpet is your weapon of choice. What do we need to know about the trumpet that is different than prepping for a show? Like, you got to bring those little
Reeds
pieces with you, or like
prepping for a show for me is just it's basically running tunes, making sure I know what I'm doing on the songs, and then it's practicing and making sure that I'm keeping my chops up, because the trumpet is a very punishing instrument. You literally have to practice that thing 6 to 7 days a week. And, you want to take a day off periodically just to let things rest and settle. And then it's time to beat your chops up again and get ready for your next show, because that's just how it works.
You got any thoughts on now, Mikey? You hop in anytime. He brought up ska, and I'm like, holy crap! I just had to make.
I could listen to Mitch talk about ska all day long, because I love that, because again, it's rhythmic, and that's the stuff I like. And it's obviously close to reggae, which is another thing that I like. And be honest with you, we don't get a lot of people talking about ska on this show. I think this might be the first conversation we've had about ska. So I enjoy listening to what I knew where his beginnings were with ska and stuff like that, but I could listen to that all day long. I don't really have a whole lot of questions. I just like hearing all the old places, the West End and lounge acts and cool places that Mitch played back in the early 80s. It's neat.
Well, promoting back then, you really had to know how to work the Scotch tape and the copier machine, right, Mitch?
And the fax machine. Yeah. Yeah.
You had the fax.
It was crazy, man. There was a lot of running around to get material or content to promoters and to booking agents and stuff like that, or you were doing all that yourself. And I happened to get pretty lucky and get in with some bands that wanted to work, and there was people that were willing to do that work while I was trying to get an education and finish my degree and not be a complete knucklehead for the rest of my life. And so, those guys, set it up and made sure that we were, on the road or working around town and playing a fair amount of shows and writing and recording and promoting and, doing the old sheets of paper at the coffee shop used to bring in a lot of people, man. It was a totally different game.
Well, people don't understand that the light poles, that was Facebook, man.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Or the bulletin boards, like when you walk into a bar, they'd have like a board. Yeah,
Yeah. Or the stuff right in front of the urinals in the guy's bathroom, because you were all standing there reading while you were, taking a leak.
Well, I start to go back and think about, like, how did I find out about bands? So there was the reader, which is still around, and then there was the IE, and that was a great way. You could, you'd be at a bar, you grab the, latest month of the IE, and I could look down that, and I could see who was at what bars on what days, and it was a 1 month look. The reader was a weekly thing, so you had to get it each week. If I was in the city at the time, I'd pick up a reader, and I would be able to see, who's playing where and stuff. And now I don't get into the city as much. I haven't looked at the reader in a long time. I know it's still around, but the IE, you ever looked at that lately? I mean,
no.
It's got maybe 6-7 bars listed in there, and I mean, it has the back pages where it's like all just listed on there, and it's hard as hell to find anything. But I mean, outside of like the Arcada, the Displays, Mickey Finn still advertises in there, but there's not a lot of advertising in that. I mean, and even the articles, I mean, the actual publication, I picked it up the other day. I got it right here. There you go. There it is. There it is, right here. It's virtually nothing in there. You know, so I mean,
What'd you pay for it?
I paid nothing. I just wanted to grab
What's
it.
it
But I
worth?
mean, you know, I get a lot of these ads. Lover's Lane, right? Just, you know,
Oh,
I
yeah.
get a lot of that. Yeah. So I don't know. To me, it just they're the best way right now. I think, you know, with social media, whether it's Instagram or whether it's Facebook, that's really how I'm finding out about stuff. But you know, back in the day, we were doing it old school, right, Mitch? You were going and
Yeah.
you know, you like you said, light posts and you know,
Yep.
bathroom stalls and you know, bulletin boards.
I'm going to mention two more clubs too that we used
Yeah.
to play. Hemingway Church in Evanston used to have punk shows. And of course, the ska bands would play those. And so would like bands like 007. Do you remember those
Yeah,
guys
yeah,
from Evanston? Yeah. Um, and then Biddy Mulligans, which
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, you know, everybody played Biddy Mulligans back in the day. And it's so funny. Like I drive by there now and I'm just like, it's still Rogers No Park
Right.
because there's no parking anywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Fitzgerald's is still around though, right?
Oh, yeah.
Fitzgerald's is still around, and I remember playing there a long time ago, and Bill Fitzgerald was still a young man before he sold it, and trying to get a gig there now seems much harder than it was back in the day.
No, it's let's see, punk. We're going to stay on punk and ska. Jam Productions would take all the dead clubs and they would dump all the punk acts in there on a Sunday night or Tuesday night, like Cubby Bear.
On Cub days, the Cubby Bear Lounge is probably the busiest bar in the city, an hour and a half before and after the game. The Cubby Bear is Chicago's #1 baseball bar. It's been here for as long as Wrigley Field has been, I believe.
I always come to the Cubby Bear. This is a good watering hole.
Tradition!
Yeah.
I come every year to the Cub opener. Last year it rained. We stayed here all day.
I'll tell you one thing, you don't have to look very far in this bar before you find somebody who knows a lot, and I do mean a lot, about the Cubs. Tell me about Dallas Green.
I think he's a great general manager. He's going to bring the Cubs up to #1 someday.
Tell me about the Cubs this year.
I don't know. I think they have a good chance if the pitching can hold up and stuff.
How come you're not at work?
Well, I woke up this morning and I wasn't feeling very well, and then all of a sudden the Cubs fever got me, so I decided to come out here.
So you do have a fever, it's just Cubs fever.
Cub fever, that's all it is. I'll get over tomorrow.
You don't even need to talk to the patrons to discover that the Cubby Bear is definitely Cubs territory. All you have to do is look around.
Now, from what you've seen so far, you might be tempted to think that the Cubby Bear caters exclusively to the Chicago sports fan. But every once in a while, this place pulls a real chameleon act and changes its colors from Cubs blue to punked out purple.
Although no liquor is served, and this may look like a barroom brawl, it isn't. These kids are just slam dancing. Cubby Bear owner George Lucas explains the bar's transformation.
A few years ago, I wanted to be able to compete with some of the local bars that had entertainment. We had no business here, and the only people that would come in here to play for the door were the least desirable bands. I know Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig on the wall would sort of frown a little bit if they saw some of our punk bands that came in here, but I'm sure the Babe would understand.
And how do the punkers feel about the Cubby Bear?
It's great. The managers are so cool. They let us play, when most places won't.
Most places won't even let us in, especially underage people. It's really hard to get a place to play.
I think it's really, really a great place. It's something always happening, whether it's, after a Cubs game or whether it's like tonight, you know, it's always a great place to go.
But whether you're a punker or a jock, just about everybody who goes to the Cubby Bear is a Cubs fan.
I'm a Cubs fan all the way.
I go to the games as often as I can. You know, I like the Cubs.
I love the Cubs. I've been a Cub fan since I was a little tyke.
The Cubs, my sister likes them, and I went to one game when I was like in 5th grade.
And
Yep.
you'd have a day game. They didn't have lights back then. You'd have a day game, and then you had to clean up, and then you had to take care of all these skinheads coming in, and idiots like me would have to guard the stage to deal with the stage divers and all that, and for $5 an hour cash, to chance of kill the bouncers. And what I never realized was that if somebody spits on you on stage, that was a compliment. People don't understand that. Back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah. Or sweat on you when they were shaking their heads around. Yeah.
Well, plus if he has like bad brains or something like that with those dreads that are coming around, it's like, man, get down. People don't understand how good we have it right now. Well, actually, I don't know. What do we have right now, Mitch, compared to back then? You had a lot of fewer choices back then, so people weren't overwhelmed with what to do. Now people have so many choices, they choose just to stay home and Netflix and chill, I guess. I don't know. Some people go out, but not like we did back in the day, Mitch, right?
I don't know. I feel like there was more options then for live music than there are now.
Yeah.
I think the consumption of live music has changed pretty significantly. I don't think a lot of young people really go to hear live music anymore. And when they do want something live, they go to like a DJ thing and they'll hear, you know, EDM music or dubstep or whatever it is that is the drum and bass, whatever is hot at the beginning, you know, at that particular time, whatever they dig. And so they'll go see like 4 or 5 DJs in a night at a raver, and that's their thing. You know, I've got kids that are, you know, upper 20s, early 30s, and that's the stuff that my son is involved in. And he's also a musician, but he's way more involved in what I'll call the EDM scene than he is in playing bass or guitar or drums.
I feel it's taken over, Mitch. I agree with you. I feel it's sort of taken over the live music scene. And then, you know, our scene kind of changed. We talk about it all the time on this show. It really is tribute acts right now. I mean, that if you look at any one of these venues that has live bands, you know, you're going to see the Cashmeres and the, you know, whatever. I mean, you name it. Just go down the list. You know, Tom Petty tribute bands. You know,
better original bands back then, though, right? No,
more original bands.
Mitch, come on now. Go
ahead.
I'm
going to disagree with that.
Go push.
I'm going to respectfully disagree.
Push away.
No, here's what I think is going on.
Okay.
There is great original music being written and recorded, and it's just hard to get it out to the masses. And Derek Procell, who we played with on Saturday night, is a great example of that. The guy could probably fill a 3-hour show with original songs. No one would come. If he didn't play some of the songs by Van Morrison or by Paul Carrick or by, you know, the Blue Eyed Soul stuff that we're doing, nobody would come. I literally have, I don't know, 15 originals that we could do. We could do a whole like 50 or 60% original music at a, you know, Mitch the Lip and Side Hustle gig. Nobody would really come out or dig that. So we play 30% originals and 70% covers, and that's just how it works. I just was involved in like 4 recording projects, and some of the music is really kick-ass. There's a band that just released a video. It's called the Push Puppets that I'm in the horn section on. It's an album called Tether Together.
Okay.
It's by the Push Puppets. The song is called Hearts Aren't Souvenirs.
To a piece of work. question mark for more consideration. Crossing all the wires. When the answer comes, you hang it up. When the silence drowns the ringing out, strike up a conversation. Hearts aren't souvenirs, don't need proof that you were here. Hearts aren't souvenirs. Look in the mirror and you find where your faith went. Love letters in a box in the basement. One so sincere. Throwing in the towel. Giving up while feigning letting go. Knock it down and watch the pieces fall in every direction. Falling on the sword. Blow it up, but keep the powder dry. Shut it down, but keep the hope alive to add to your collection. Hearts aren't souvenirs, don't need proof that you were here. Hearts aren't souvenirs. Look in the mirror and you find where your faith went. Love letters in a box in the basement. One so sincere. One so sincere. The fire had been denied, but you ignited it. One so sincere. The heart had been revived, you put a knife in it. Go on, but keep the door open. Gonna get all that you can get. Go on, forget the words were spoken. Gonna get all that you can get. All that you can get. Hearts aren't souvenirs, don't need proof that you were here. Hearts aren't souvenirs. Look in the mirror and you find where your faith went. Love letters in a box in the basement. One so sincere. Hearts aren't souvenirs, don't need proof that you were here. Hearts aren't souvenirs. Look in the mirror and you find where your faith went. Love letters in a box in the basement. One so sincere. One so sincere. One so sincere. One so sincere.
I can't recommend this particular song enough. It's got strings on it. It's got horns on it. All the music is acoustic. And there's just some great original music being written. And a lot of the people that I'm recording for original music all have cover bands too. They're all playing in cover bands, whether it's a petty tribute or it's just a bar band that does covers that they back someone else up with, or it's just a cover band. They're all writing original music too, and they're all trying to write and record and get that out to the masses. The problem is you can't get it out to the masses without radio or TV, and there's nobody that's going to put up money to pay for that, so it doesn't get heard. the days of payola are long gone. They can't really take you can't stick a packet of something in an album cover anymore and give it to a DJ and he'll play your stuff. It's just not how it works.
Nope.
It's unfortunate because the misnomer is that there is no good original music being written. It's not true. You just got to hunt a lot harder for it.
Yeah, I agree 100%, Mitch. I mean, that Hello Mojo is a fantastic album. And Derek Procell was on the show with us. He was one of our early guests, and Pete remembers him. What a tremendous guest. Yep. Came on. He had great stories to tell, how he got started, where he plays. And he was, obviously promoting a show and promoting Hello Mojo, but I can't say it enough. I mean, that is a great album from front to back. Great writing, great musician, great hooks to the song,
Yes.
And people just don't know. And I had a friend and his wife came out to the show on Saturday. He wasn't familiar with only the cover songs, right? He didn't know any of the Derek Procell original stuff. He loved it. So whether it was Hello Mojo, Skin in the Game, The Contender, he loved it. He said it was great. Yeah. So there's a lot of good music out there, Pete. It's how do you find it?
Exactly.
How do you distribute it to the masses?
Hold on, you guys. I'm pushing back at both of you. We started out with talking about the light pole. That was the Facebook. We had less options back then to distribute content. Now we have more options to distribute content. And what I'm hearing is that, well, we don't have any way to get it out there. Which is it? Plus the kids now, Mitch, your kids, my kids' age, and the kids today, they like this soft crap. It's like the 70s again, playing out. You're
not going to jump on the Mumford & Son thing again, are you?
I'm not. I want Mitch to kind of correct me because we kind of went through the same routines, growing up. We were a lot angrier in our youth, weren't we, Mitch? Or what's the issue?
I don't know. I wasn't really angry, but I definitely liked music that had a little more edge to it than I like now. When I hear that now, I'm like, I can listen to about 5-10 minutes of it, not a whole night of it. Like back then, I could listen to it the whole night, So it's just different how even our ear changes and how we consume music changes as we age. And I think that's a normal thing to go through. But I don't know, going back to what you were saying, yes, there are more ways to get music, but because there's more ways, it's not as focused as it was where there is.
It's really fragmented is what you're saying.
It's really fragmented.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
it's a lot everything for free. There's no record store to go buy records at anymore. I mean, there's very few of them. So people are going to, pick up their phone. They're going to pull up Spotify or Apple Music or some other way to consume it. They're going to go in and either put on some, artist radio and maybe get exposed to some new artists, which is one way. But I still haven't. What's that?
Word of mouth.
Word of mouth.
That's right now how I'm getting my music. Either that or there's some kind of algorithm that's on my Spotify. So I'm playing one particular artist and it says, hey, you might like this. And it pairs it up. And then, oh, wow, I never heard of that band. And then, I go looking at their catalog of stuff. And once again, there's no record store. I got to go on to Amazon and, I guess Spotify and just stream it. But I like to own the stuff. I'm one of the few that still has actually a CD collection.
We had Wolfgang Paul on last week, drummer for Ara.
I know who Wolfgang is. Wolfie. Okay. Yeah.
Wolfie.
Great young man.
I asked him, thank God we got young men like him and Pete Dinkleson, these
yes.
I don't know how they got into this, the rougher music, thank God. But, I said, hey, when you're in the car, you're cruising around with your buds, how long do they let the song play before they skip it? And he's telling me, it's like, 45 seconds, skip. Like, how long does a song got to be before, it gets catchy that they'll leave it on before they go on to the next one, Mitch?
I don't know.
Me either.
It's a great question.
Attention spans, right?
I mean, attention spans are much shorter than they were when we were younger. And I don't know too many people that will sit down and listen to the whole CD or a side of an album, or, that's the other thing is you had a whole side of an album. It was what, 18 minutes, 14 minutes? I don't remember the exact number, but it was some number of minutes that you were sitting there listening to the whole side. And you might get 4 or 5 songs, 6 songs in one side. If it's, if they're 3-minute songs, you got 6 songs,
Yeah. I'm going to throw out Rush because we're talking about Wolfie. Didn't they? It used to be like you had to have a good single. You had to put out a good single decades ago. And then I'm just throwing out Rush. They made a real presentation of doing an album where they'd have 2 or I mean, all their stuff was good, but their less good stuff was on an album side, and they put the whole, thing out there. Now we're back to, I don't even want to hear one song. I want to hear 10 seconds of one song. How do you compete?
And, frankly, as a more educated listener, which most of the guys that you have on here and gals too, for that matter, are educated listeners. They know music. They want to hear something that surprises them or grabs their ear in the first 15 seconds.
What do you call that? A hook? Like, what do you do, Mitch?
A hook.
It's a hook. It could be a surprise, a curveball, something that they're throwing in that's giving you something different. Like say they're playing in a major key in the song, and they throw a minor chord and a drop minor chord in that doesn't really fit, but it catches your ear because it doesn't really fit.
So I'm going to throw something out there. Pixies, Nirvana, you do a slow lyric, and then all of a sudden, wham, the edgy stuff, and then it would get slow again. Is that what you're talking about? Or like what? How do we get?
That could be it.
Yeah.
So I might be mispronouncing their name, but a band that does it really well. Khruangbin?
No idea.
Oh, look at you guys. Neither of you know who I'm talking about.
All right.
Are they local?
Spell it. I didn't know there was going to be a test.
Krang. Let me look it up. Hang on.
Bin.
Wait, I feel stupid not knowing it.
Well, I'm always feeling.
Not Khruangbin.
Yeah, no, it's not Khruangbin. It's Khruangbin. Khruangbin.
Yeah,
I
do know those guys.
Yeah,
Houston.
Their music has surprises in it.
Yes.
It's just not what you'd expect. And they're a power trio, and they just do some really cool stuff.
It's like groove music, right?
It's
like
like groove.
Yeah, because I remember like last year, they would stream like Bonnaroo or one of these things around the streaming service. And I remember turning on, and they were like the Sunday night at like 8:00, and I'm watching it, and I was mesmerized for like an hour and a half of watching these like grooves. I didn't know one song, and it was this female bassist, right?
Yes.
They're excellent. How do you pronounce that again?
I think it's Khruangbin.
Khruangbin, you're correct. Hi.
I've been calling it curmudgeon.
Well, we know some curmudgeons.
Yeah, right here. Show.
Yeah.
Hey, Mitch, since we don't get a lot of trumpet players on here, can you talk about the evolution of the horn? Because Chuck Mangione, he got some chicks in his day.
and the irony there is he's not a trumpet player. He's a flugelhorn player.
Flugel. What's the difference?
That's a great question. So the trumpet is what gives the trumpet its sound is basically how the bore size is set up, meaning the circumference of the inner tubes. And the inner diameter of the tubes changes throughout a trumpet until it gets to the first valve. And the first valve.
Hey, show and tell.
Yeah.
Coming out of here, it starts to flare all the way through the bell. Okay? So a cornet or a flugelhorn is going to start on this end at one size and slowly get larger throughout the whole entire instrument. It's called a conical shape. And the conical shape, your ear hears more of the overtone series, which gives it a darker timbre, if that helps you guys, or tone color.
Yep.
So now we're getting to music geek stuff.
Okay.
But a flugelhorn is known to be a mellower sound. You actually approach the thing completely different than a trumpet when you're playing it mentally, or it just sounds like a dirty trumpet.
Can you play it?
Flugelhorn?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've never seen you play it then, right? You don't really use it.
Trumpet is the wife, and a flugelhorn's your mistress. That's why you never see me play the flugelhorn.
All right, the evolution. All right, so throwing Dizzy Gillespie in there, help me out. I'm way over my skis here, Mitch. Come on.
So probably I mean, there's a lot of very early, well-known trumpet players in the trumpet community, like Big Spiderbeck and some of the other guys that came out of out of New Orleans and out of St. Louis, and then obviously some out of Chicago. But everybody started to learn about the trumpet from Satchmo. Louis Armstrong was kind of the guy who made trumpet cool and popular. Because before that, it was mostly used in orchestral music.
How did Louis Armstrong get to be a singer? Because he wasn't that great, was he?
He was a very good singer.
Okay.
He was a phenomenal trumpet player. So I kind of, let me put it this way.
Yeah.
I've modeled my vocal capabilities after his.
Oh, he's a great singer.
Just be a pretty good singer, be a really good trumpet player, and be a better frontman. Because I can go down the line of singers or people that consider themselves singers that aren't necessarily great singers, but they are phenomenal frontmen.
Yeah.
You know?
David Lee Roth,
Mick Jagger. I mean, we can go on and on. There's a lot of there's better local singers than those guys, like the Jeff Anthonys of the world, for instance.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I mean, the guy's a beast, you know? Yeah. So I just, I know where I sit in that world, and I'm a decent singer, and I love it. So I don't care that I'm not going to be the greatest singer in the world. Doesn't matter. If Mick Jagger can do it, I sure can.
All right, we'll move it up a couple decades. What about the Chicago Transit Authority and the horns there? Did that help rock music get horns back into play, or no?
I think it was even before that.
Go ahead, give it to me.
I mean, I think you mentioned Dizzy Gillespie, Miles Davis, Clifford Brown. I mean, I go on and on with all the jazz guys that were just phenomenal trumpet players. And those aren't even the guys that were like doing big band music, because there's like the Connie Candolis of the world. There's the Maynard Fergusons of the world. There's all those guys that really, I mean, say what you want about Maynard Ferguson. The guy was a phenomenal trumpet player. I loved his jazz music. Some of his stuff that, came after, like, the theme from Rocky and some of the other stuff he did was, he did what he had to do to pay the bills, Are
you saying he sold out?
Yeah, a little bit. To me, he did. Because I heard a recording at my buddy's house from him playing jazz in 1965. He was a beast. It was unbelievable. There was not a lot of guys that could hang with him, even playing through like jazz changes,
But wouldn't you say though, like you're talking jazz musicians, I think what Pete was trying to get at, maybe I'm wrong, is bringing it to the pop oriented stuff. So you had stuff like Chicago, you had Blood, Sweat and Tears, you had
Tower of Power.
Yeah.
Tower of Power, right? Great.
Yep.
I mean, those are ones I think of when I'm thinking of like great horn bands, right? Those were the guys that kind of, yes, Maynard Ferguson, 100%,
Yeah. I would say now you're into the 60s, Pete.
Yeah.
And all those bands that you just mentioned, Bongo Mike, are all bands that were, that made things really, really big and really start happening in pop music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are the youngsters taking up trumpet? I mean, are they doing it in high school for band, and are they carrying it over? Or how's it work?
That's a great question, Pete. I just did I'll call it a mentoring session with an 11-year-old trumpet player. And this kid is writing his own music already. He's transcribing his own music, which means that he's getting music that he either wrote or that he's got off of a recording, and he's writing out the notes, the rhythms. And that's a really good exercise for a young set of ears, because you have to listen to it over and over and over again to grab all the rhythms correctly, all the accidentals correctly. it's just really cool to see young people kind of getting into it. And, there's way more available to them through like YouTube and private lessons and lessons in school. And this particular district that he's in, they start in 4th grade, which is early. Most districts are either starting in 5th grade or 7th grade. Some don't start till, I'll call junior high, which could be 7th and 8th or 6th, 7th and 8th. So there is music happening, especially at the younger levels, and kids are getting into it. And there's still, man, some of them are just great players already. Otherwise, you wouldn't have the Pete Dinklesons of the world and the Wolfie Pauls and people like that. They wouldn't exist.
How did you get involved? Mitch, how'd you get involved with that mentorship? I mean, did somebody reach out to you? Did they know you? Is that how it happened?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Very cool.
So
how do you go from trumpet to, I'm trying to think of a jazz band, because I am just straight, they call me Root Note Pete. I mean, I use a pick and, that's it. Nothing fancy here. But if you go to a jazz band, which I would never be allowed in, like, what is the progression? You have a trumpet player, you got the sax player, like who's controlling things at the band there with the horns?
Oh, well, the director is controlling things with everybody, the conductor, if you want to call it that.
Mm-hmm.
If people are doing it correctly, the lead trumpet is kind of from whom all blessings flow. And so all the trumpet players follow the lead player, support the lead player, make sure they're phrasing things like the lead player. The lead trombone player is going to follow the lead trumpet player, and all the trombone players are going to follow the lead trombone player. And the lead alto player, the first alto, is going to follow the lead trumpet player as well. And then all the saxes are going to follow him. Really, if you want to get down to the brass tacks of who's running the band, it's the bass player.
Damn straight.
Answer.
That's that. Look, the cake all happens in the bass and the drums, and everything else is frosting.
Damn straight. God, I like this guy, Bongo. A lot.
So Mitch, bring us now. So we've gone and talked about the different styles of music and stuff, and bring us kind of up to speed. You said we know you're in a lot of different bands. Let's talk a little bit about Mitch the Lip and the Side Hustle. Better with Bacon. Is that you too, right?
Well, that's not me. That's actually Dwayne Hansen and his crew. I'm just a sideman with that band.
Okay.
So I have one band. It's Mitch the Lip and Side Hustle that I'm kind of the responsible party for, which
the leader.
Sometimes it's hard for me to believe that, because I should never be the most mature person in the room.
I would never join a country club that would have me.
Yeah, exactly. No, Mitch the Lip and Side Hustle is the only thing I'm really the band leader of. And it's we're a New Orleans based funk band, essentially, even though we play some ska, some reggae, but it's really all about funk. So with lots of different influences, including, James Brown, Prince, we do some John Cleary, we do, a bunch of our own stuff, and we do a Dumpster Funk song, which is a cover really of Buddy Miles. We do actually a couple Buddy Miles songs. We do a bunch of Maceo Parker tunes, or Maceo Parker versions of songs that he's covered, that are other people's music. We just happen to do his version because it's funky and it's got horns. And, we have 3 horns and 4 vocalists. So that's kind of our calling card.
Yeah, I remember seeing you. I think it was at Toadstool Pub. And I remember hearing the Maceo Parker. And I'm like, wow, Maceo Parker. And someone's like, who?
Well, I think that's a lot of our music, except for like the James Brown and even the Prince songs we play they're not super well-known Prince songs. So it's, the James Brown songs are probably the most recognizable things we do.
Yeah.
Is NUA still a thing? WNUA, the jazz radio station, is it still around, Mitch?
I don't have any idea, but I know that I'll call it New Age jazz is still a thing. There are people that still go on cruises and listen to it, or still attend concerts and hear, the new age artists. And there's a couple from Chicago that are just unbelievably great. So there's still a scene.
Okay.
I don't think there's a radio station dedicated though.
Yeah. WNUA, I think, is still around, isn't it?
NUA, the only reason I know it was NUA and US 99 early 90s, there was no jazz being played in the city and there was no country being played in the city. And Jam was taking care of rock, so we had to go fight and hunt for something that would work, and jazz and country would come into play. One offshoot that may make you both happy is, like, where does like Zydeco come in, like Buckwheat Zydeco, because that could make both you and Bongo Mike happy, because Bongo Mike likes that washboard. Where does Zydeco come into play with your funk music there, Mitch?
Not really for me. That's funny you would ask that question. I was just watching a thing on 60 Minutes about this yesterday.
I saw that too.
Yeah. Zydeco, it is definitely a Southern music, but it's not a New Orleans based music. It's other parts of Louisiana. Like
it's the Cajun stuff.
Exactly.
Like it's from Lafayette.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's really very different from what I like and listen to, although I'm not against it. I can only listen to so much accordion music, man.
It does kind of all sound the same at times.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've seen Chubby Carrier or Buckwheat Zydeco, I love this stuff because it's got a washboard in there.
Yeah. There's tons of percussion and the rhythm is cool.
It's cool.
But can you listen to 3 hours of it? I don't know.
Definitely an hour where I would be on my feet, moving, grooving, kicking my heels up, and then after that hour, I'm just ready for a bowl of gumbo and I just want to sit down.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's the other piece of that is the food and there's usually food and alcohol involved.
So good. So good.
A lot of sweating going on.
Oh yeah.
A lot of sweating. Yeah.
Don't know why. So Mitch, what do you got coming up? Where can we find you, man?
That's a great question, Pete.
That's why I'm here.
He's got a list.
I do. So Friday, I'm doing a private event. Saturday, I'm doing a private event with.
Wait, you
Kevin
do private
Procell
events? Hold on, Mitch. Private event. How do we get? Somebody wants to book you because you do a private event and you make more money and it's less hassle. I'm sure you want more of those. Where do we send people, Mitch, to get you more of those?
The best place to go is my new website, which is Mitch The Lip, and it's mitchthelip.com. So
corporate gigs,
50, absolutely.
Top dollar.
Recording sessions, corporate gigs.
Okay.
Whatever people want. I mean, I could set up a whole horn section. I can come as an individual. I can put a 7, 8, 9, 10 piece band together. And I know a lot of musicians and do a lot of work around Chicago that I can find people, even though I live in Wisconsin now. I can't find a gig in Milwaukee to save my life.
What corporate gigs or weddings? Which one you want?
It's both.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's both. But, I got called by a guy who owns 3 wedding bands. It was a corporate event, though. It was a Wednesday night at Willis Tower now, excuse me.
Yeah.
And we did a set, and then we played as live band karaoke, and it was a lot of damn fun. You get some people who walk up and sing the heck out of a song, and some people come up and sing and they actually hurt your spine because it starts to curl on you.
I don't believe I've ever sung at any of your events, Mitch. So Mitch, now that we got that out of the way, you want weddings?
Try.
Yeah.
You want weddings and corporate gigs. Now, when we go to lowly bars and clubs,
so you asked me, I'm playing Sunday with Mike, actually, Black Diamond Sessions.
Toadstool Pub.
Yeah, Toadstool Pub on the
3:30 p.m. Yeah.
Yeah, on the 30th, Friday the 30th, Mitch The Lip and Side Hustle are playing at the Toadstool Pub as well. On the 1st, I'm doing a gig with Mad Dogs and Englishmen at the Arcada Theater. Playing
and just before you go on, Mitch, just to reiterate on that, the gig at the Arcada, that is a part of the soundtracks. That also involves Derek Procell. He is the Joe Cocker for that show. and brother John Cocky on keys for that, correct?
That is correct. He
Yep.
does all the Leon Russell songs as well.
Yep,
And
Leon Russell.
He sings and plays keys, and he's another guy that can also tear it up on guitar. You know,
Oh, yeah.
nobody really talks about it, but
I saw him do it.
Yeah. Yep, me too. I did it. We hosted a jam together, that Sunday night jam over at Mad Cats. He and I were the guest artists that were brought in, and that was a lot of fun.
Did you fit on the stage?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was just 4 of us.
I did. Throwing shade. Sorry. We'll let it down.
Yeah, it's all right. I can take it. Dude, I give so much crap to people. I got to be able to take it too.
Absolutely.
That's Mike.
It's all in good fun.
Sometimes people get a good zinger and I'm like, hey, that was really funny. I like that. And they're like, you're supposed to be hurt by that. And no, it doesn't bother me. I think it's funny as hell.
Now, the best zinger is 30 minutes later, they figure out you just told them to fuck off.
Wait, I didn't know we could swear on this show. I've been throwing F-bombs the whole time.
Whatever you want to say.
The middle name of this show is demonetized. Unmonetized.
Yeah.
So Mitch, while you're going through the calendar there, you got any thoughts on best horn movies? I don't know. Blues Brothers just came up. I don't know if you had any thoughts on that.
Oh God. This is like quiz time.
Well, didn't Clint Eastwood make a movie about Bird? Is that right?
Yeah.
I did. I didn't see it, but I know it was out there.
Yeah. I mean, talk about a guy who had a really like a dual life. You know, he would literally wake up in the morning and drop his daughter off at school. He was like living in Long Island, I think. And then he'd either take the train or drive. I think he'd take the train because he couldn't drive by the end of the night.
Yeah.
He'd take the train into the city. He'd find a place to get a hit. And, whatever it was, the choice of the day, usually it was heroin. And then he'd go play a gig all night long and then go home and drop his daughter at school, go back home and sleep. And I mean, he had like a total normal life that he had going on with his family and this like drug addict musician at night. And he was as creative as all get out, but man, didn't work well for his longevity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Question.
I know a little bit of the story. I didn't see the movie, but that's the first one that comes.
What's the name of the movie? What's the name of the movie?
I can't remember.
Isn't it called Bird?
Yeah, it might be.
Look it up, Mikey. Oh, why Mitch is going through his memory banks.
Oh man!
I threw out Blues Brothers. Would that even be considered a horn movie?
No, I think it's just a music movie.
Okay, music. All right.
Yeah, I mean that to me is a music movie, and I played in some Blues Brothers tributes when I was coming up, and we did a bunch of that stuff and songs, and they're fun, and the band is great, and there's Brother John Kaki, we were already talking about. He plays in a band called the Blues Brothers, BLOOZ, and they're working all the time. So,
got to sell out.
Pete, you're making me look this up. This is not easy.
Well, that's all right. We'll let it sound post.
I believe it was Clint Eastwood.
Why is selling out a bad thing? I mean, it's supply and demand. If your stuff sucks, nobody's going to come out. So if you can't connect with the crowd, when you're in a cover band, you call up a bar owner, they understand what you are by I'm a Blondie band. And Mitch, you've been around a long time, but in your early days, what is a Mitch the Lip? How do you say what,
Yeah. I mean, just from playing at a lot of clubs, I know some club owners, it doesn't matter if you're not going to put asses in seats, they're not going to hire you.
Right.
Yeah.
It is called Bird. It was 1988, directed by Clint Eastwood, the troubled life and career of jazz musician Charlie Parker.
Parker. All right.
Yeah.
I knew there was
that one came to mind because I remember it got really good reviews. Forrest Whitaker plays Charlie Parker.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I get my eye like that. Give me one Give me one movie, Mitch, and we'll let you go.
One movie?
Yeah.
Come
on.
I mean, there was a great Miles Davis movie that I saw. I can't remember the name of it. The last one I saw was probably the.
Here, pause that.
Well, while he's looking, I'll give you my list.
Go.
So I got this Sunday with Mitch, as well as the rest of the Black Diamond sessions. We've got Gracie Lubinsky and Johnny Martinez fronting us for that show at Toadstool. The 30th, I will be doing a quick 1 hour set in Morton Grove at Horror Park, and that's going to be a benefit for the veterans. Last year, I think we raised about $25,000 to get these wounded veterans service dogs, German Shepherds, and that's going to be with the Mosquitoes. So that's the 30th. That's at 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. And then there's a band after us, Face the Music. They close it out till about 10. And then June 1st, I will be with the Mosquitoes at Sundance Saloon. That's a 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. show. So Sunday fun day out at outside. Hopefully the weather gets nicer out in the tent. Yeah. And then last but not least, on my 8 gigs in 5 weeks, I will be playing with Black Diamond Sessions on June 6th at Mad Cats in Palatine. How we all fit on the stage, really quite amazing to see 7 or 8 of us on that stage. That's at Mad Cats, June 6th, 9 p.m.
Is there AC okay over there? I haven't played it. Okay.
Working. Yeah, I mean, you know, I tell you what, Rick does a great job running sound over there. I mean,
we love you, Rick.
Really, you know Rick, right?
Yeah, we love him. Love him.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
He does a great job. I mean, it always sounds so damn good in there, even if it's never really loud. It sounds always really good. Just
you can't blow shit to your friends. Who can you blow shit to? Mitch, give me a horn movie, and then who's the best horn person of all time? I'm guessing Louis Armstrong. I don't know.
Oh, I don't know, man. I have my favorite, of course, and it's not what most people would think of. Clark Terry is probably my favorite trumpet player of all time.
Who's that?
Exactly.
Yeah, Who is he?
Clark Terry, look him up. He was a phenomenal trumpet player.
We just lost all our users.
He was also a singer.
Okay.
You know, I think his attitude about music and life just came out in his playing. And I think that's what influenced me the most. So you could hear his sense of humor in his trumpet playing. He did a bunch of stuff with like Oscar Peterson. He had his own big band.
So what era? What are we talking here?
Oh, he was 50s, 60s, 70s, even into the 80s.
Okay.
You know, and then movie. The last movie I saw, music movie, was Bob Marley, One Love.
Oh, yeah. That was good.
So now we're tying it back to the reggae and ska stuff again.
Full circle, baby.
Full circle, baby.
Mitch, man, we got to bring you back. You got game, brother.
Thank you.
Must be
Definitely.
all that. What do you call that little mouthpiece you got there? That, you know.
It's just a mouthpiece, man. That's exactly what it's called. Like this thing right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pete wants a fancy term for it. No fancy term.
No fancy term. It's a mouthpiece. It's a trumpet mouthpiece.
You blow into. Okay.
You know, actually, you know what it is? It is an IQ reliever. It relieves you of 10 IQ points as soon as you stick it to your mouth.
The male pleaser. Bongo Mike, Mitch the Lip. Great show, boys.
Thanks again, Mitch.
Have a good one, guys. Thank you.
Break the lip and get some more of that chapstick, Mitch.
Thanks, Pete.
All right, boys. Take care.
Have a great day.